Hello, a very good evening, Ms. Angkita Dutta, and I very gratefully welcome you here on this episode of Let's Be Frank. And firstly, before anything, I and on behalf of my entire team of Let's Be Frank and Urban Youth, we thank you for joining us for this episode of Let's Be Frank and also giving us your time, consider the current situation and the trying times that it has posed for all of us. We are very thankful and grateful that you have accepted to join us here for this conversation and give us with many insightful discussions and anecdotes of the further discussions that we will have during the course of this interview and this episode of Let's Be Frank. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. I'm glad I'm a part of Be Frank, and it's amazing that the kind of interesting things young people do, and I would always like to, go along with them and learn new things and talk about all the new things they're doing and I'm doing. And exchange ideas, maybe.
That's a perfect attitude, and I mean that's the kind of attitude everyone hopes to, at some point of time possess in themselves. Given that we have gone by the quote, too much of that youth is currently the core of every kind of development that might and shall take place. However, since you've talked about doing new things and everything, the question that strikes my mind right now is about how is everything going on right now given the current situation, and also as far as I know you also had to travel during this dreaded pandemic and all the restrictions that were put in place as a precaution to this pandemic. So I mean, not taking much time, if you can tell us about that journey, and you can share some parameters or insights for people who might be listening right now and might have to travel in the near future. So tell us about how's everything going on right now in a gist.
Yeah, so I started. Okay, so basically, I was in the US for the IVLP program. I was one of the 5 women who were selected for a women leadership program by the US government. So I had gone to the US for that program, and during the program, in the US itself, it was declared as a pandemic.
Yeah.
And we were supposed to come back a week later, but because of the situation, they preponed our tickets and our travel arrangements and everything. So we got back to India. And after we got back to India, I mean, in the funny part in US, all the flights that we took, all the domestic flights we took were completely empty. Like the airports were empty. But the flight that we took from Boston to New Delhi, that was totally packed. So that and after we reached, we had come in the beginning of the pandemic, so they just did our thermal temperature check, and then we filled our forms and everything, and we proceeded for quarantine. And I mean, in Delhi there was no institution quarantine, so I could go home and quarantine myself. So I was in quarantine in Delhi for 14 days, and during that period the lockdown was announced by the Prime Minister. So I was stuck in Delhi for almost like 2.5 months. And once the flights resumed again, I came back to Guwahati. And when I came back to Guwahati again, I had to go through the same process, but it was a little more different than the earlier time. We came back and we had to fill a lot of forms in the airport, then go to Horhozai Stadium for the swab test, get the test done. And the only good thing was like single women travelers, like whether you're married or not married, that doesn't matter. But if you're a single woman traveler, the government allowed you to, because of security reasons, to stay in your house for self-quarantine. So after giving my swab that very night, I went and stayed in my room and I was there. So that is how the whole process is. But now every day the SOPs are changing.
Yeah.
So recently I came to Amguri from Guwahati for there also. Then again I took a swab test and I was in quarantine. And once my results came negative, and then only I started working. I went back to the field. But these are difficult times, and you have to be very careful and responsible. So I believe that and also my advice would be just keep a track of the SOPs, because it keeps changing. So what happened 1 month back or maybe 1 week back may not be relevant today.
Yeah. And that's very insightful of you. And such information from people who have actually gone through the process and have a first hand information about the same, and are ready to impart that knowledge. It helps people who might have to, God forbid, face such situations in the coming future. But again, coming apart from that and moving on to a different dynamic, as you have already mentioned about the reason for which you had to travel to US, and that is ILVP
Mm-hmm.
and the leadership program for women. You have been outspoken about women and the gender issues related to that, and it's very evident, and it has been evident since your days, since your academic days, if I'm not wrong, since you were a
Yeah,
DU
true.
student.
Yeah.
Maybe through student activism, through social media, or through any other platform you had. So, if you can tell us, or if you can shed light on how you actually, got interested into student activism, then or before, into gender issues. You have done research about the same. You have worked with departments on women in DU, that
Mm.
which many of us don't know about, because again there is no coverage or there is no publicization because
Yeah.
it's India. However, uh, tell us more about it, and tell us more about how your life and how you got involved into activism and gender issues as a whole.
So basically, in our family, we are three
Yeah.
daughters. So we were raised by our father and mother in a very independent way, and education was first, and everything else didn't matter. You have to be independent. You have to be educated, financially independent. So we have been brought up in that way, not because we were girls or
Yeah.
boys. We were told like, you are hungry, you are going to eat food, so you also have to cook. You don't have to cook because you are a girl. So there was nothing like that. Papa used to do the cooking sometimes. He was a delicious cook, made excellent food. And so we were brought up like that. And then I went to Delhi. I was in Delhi in DPS Mathura Road. So
All right.
since class 11, I was in Delhi. So the environment in Delhi was pretty different.
Yeah.
And it suddenly started to soak in, and I started to feel that, we were not raised like this. We were raised a lot differently. And then I realized, observing the difference, how girls are being brought up in northeastern part of the country
Yeah.
and in North India. And then gradually I started reading more about it. Then during my graduation, I opted for a paper called Women and Political Process, which was a part of political science honors. And there I got to understand a lot of things, all these things that seemed very normal. Otherwise, it seems very normal, but it problematized a lot of things that we had internalized
Yeah.
throughout the years. So it gave me insights, and then I did a lot of courses with women studies and research center in Delhi University in JNU.
Yeah.
Then I did my master's in human rights, as well as my master's in women and gender studies.
Yeah.
So these are the two subjects that are interlinked and are very close, and I'm passionate about. So that's how it began. Then I did my LLB from Delhi University, CLC, Faculty of Law. And there also I opted for the paper Gender Justice.
Yeah.
I was always drawn to the issues of women, and I always wanted women throughout the country or throughout the world to have the same upbringing, the same environment that we had, when we grew up. And it starts only when the other person realizes कि हाँ इसमें problem है, there's a problem in it. Then only they realize and rectify it. So yeah, that's how it all began, and I became completely involved in all these issues and spoke about them. So yeah, that is something I love doing.
So
Also, my research is on women's issues. I am a PhD scholar.
all right, all right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
just adding to that and adding a question to that, did that somehow motivate you to follow your career in on the political lines? Because since you've studied law and since you have been a student at CLC, you could have chosen a path to be a full-time lawyer, or chosen a different path. But did those issues and your intrigue and curiosity about those issues lead you to the political line, so that you can, of course, find a platform for yourself to establish, as you said, your goal for an equivalent and equitable environment for women, which is highly missing nowadays and has been missing forever now? And or did your father, who's also a coveted and celebrated politician, not only in the state but throughout the country, and an inspiration to many, if I might add, did that also play a part in you choosing this career path for yourself, or there was anything else? So you can, if you can tell us about that.
See, I never intended to join politics. I firmly believe in destiny, so I believe it just happened. Yes, I was very intrigued by how society used to function even in the rural part of the country, like, because I was brought up in Guwahati, so how is it here? So I started getting engaged in politics when my father became the PCC president of Assam, and he could not give so much time in his constituency, Amguri. So I started working on his behalf in his absence. And that is how I observed small things, like the ladies used to always sit in the, in the floor. They will always sit on the floor, and the chairs are for the men. So these are small things I observed, and I was like, why, and it's not one day I can bring about that change,
True.
But we can talk about it. And then when we talk about it, gradually the change will come. And I felt that the more I get involved with these ladies, because they're so talented, although they might be in this small, place called Amguri and everything, but they're superb, they're talented, they are hardworking, and all I wanted to do is, oh my God, I mean, they can do so much more with their, lives. And maybe like, if I can guide them through, or we can do something together, that they can, use their talent, and showcase it to the world. Because with the internet and with the social media, everything's possible nowadays. So that's how I got involved. And then destiny happened. I contested the election. So so very much happy in the Congress party.
And that's actually something that has been taken up by many, if I might say, groups who have targeted towards women empowerment and development, as to how these very normalized and small social stigmas can be replaced with equitable gestures. As you said, women sitting on the floor and the men sitting on the chair, which is a sign of superiority and inferiority for the women. And that's wonderful to know. Then again, if as you
actually, let me just clear it with you. It is not about superiority and inferiority. It was more like we are not equal to them. So I felt that, we are not equal to them. So they sit in the chair and we can sit in the floor. Last quarter, it's like that.
And that's what takes us as a country in terms of what the environment that women have in this country. It takes us back around 50-60 years in comparison to any other country in the West, or maybe in the Asia Pacific as a whole. But then again, it's people like you and people like many women who have been, for example, Sushmita Dev, who's a respected member of the International Congress, who has been talking about such issues vehemently and working in support of it. And there are many unnamed people and unknown people who have contributed to this cause. However, as you ended your last answer with that you are a proud member of the International Congress, so how did International Congress happen, and how was the experience, being someone for the first time contesting on a ticket from the Grand Party, as we call it, and representing the party that your late father once represented, and the same constituency again? So how was that experience like? And it must be said that you gave a tough competition to an MLA who had won that constituency thrice. So he had experience. He was much senior, I believe. But still, how was the entire experience there?
He was 64, I was 28.
Yeah, it's a huge gap.
He was 64. He was 64 and I was 28. And my politics did not start with elections. I was in the organization. I was a part of the Indian Youth Congress. And the Indian Youth Congress, to enter into the organization, we had to contest internal elections within the party. So I had contested the Youth Congress elections in 2014, and then I formally became a member of Youth Congress and became the vice president of Jorhat Lok Sabha. And I started working throughout the Lok Sabha. Now I am the state vice president. I'm second in command of the Youth Congress in Assam, and I feel that Congress is an organization that promotes education, that promotes women. It is because of Rahul Gandhiji's system, because of his internal democracy, that even though I come from a political family, but I got a platform equal with everybody to join politics. I mean, otherwise they talk about nepotism and they talk about all these things, but entering politics through an organization election helped me in the way that they saw me work and they gather votes and then from the youth and then come into a post. So it was not very easy. I went through the whole learning process that I had to. Then I was lucky enough to be the youngest candidate in the 2016 Assam Assembly elections. I was the youngest. I wish I had won because I would have made history. But looks like there are other things I have to do to make history. So it was a great experience, and it's only because of our leader Rahul Gandhi ji. He thinks of women empowerment. He always listens. I've worked closely with him in many programs, and it's amazing. He's a very good listener, and a leader has to be a good listener and then guide you and be compassionate and work through it, And that is what Rahul Gandhi has. And we are happy that we are part of an organization where whether you're young or whether you're old, you're being, listened to, whether you are from a rural place or from an urban place, whether you're a man or you're a woman, but they do lend they do lend their ears and they listen to our issues and guide us through. So that is how how I got involved with the Congress party. Not just because my father was in the Congress, but because as an individual, as a student of political science, I felt that this is a better choice and maybe I should be involved with them if I want to bring about the change in the future.
And that's wonderful to know. And, such information about how the party works internally from someone who has actually worked in the party is necessary to clear out, these rumors or these misconceptions that are being spread out through the much established system of social media networks these days. But again, if you have to say, or if you're comfortable to comment upon that, in the recent days we have seen how the International Congress is, as per the media houses, suffering from an internal rift, maybe with people like Mr. Pilot or Jyotiraditya Scindia, somehow deciding to change boats or change sides, and has that somehow affected the morale of the party or the morale of the workers of the party, or what is the entire actual scene like then, what is being shown or what is being portrayed through all these social media houses and media houses per se?
So I don't think so. It is, spoiling the morale of the party. And I am in touch with the grassroots workers. They don't feel affected by, Scindia or Pilot leaving the party. Why I would say that is because there are many leaders at regional leaders, rural, at the rural level, at the Zilla Panchayat, at the MLA assembly level, and these people are immensely hardworking and talented. They, today's Jyotiraditya Scindia and Sachin Pilot are such big names because the media or the political commentators always talk about them ki ye log nepotism ke through aaye hai, these people came like that, this is Rahul Gandhi's team. But there are also small people. There are also people who are extremely talented, who are MPs today, who are from completely different backgrounds. There's an MP from the Congress party. Her father is a daily wage laborer, and she went on to become an MP. Then there is a singer. Then we have Manikam Tagore, we have Jyoti Mani, we have Ramya, we have a lot of people who the media and the political commentators chose not to talk about. So these people also are our inspiration. So if there is a Scindia and pilot going, I feel they were highlighted by the political commentators at that point of time, saying that these are products of nepotism. And now when they are gone, the same political commentators are saying we had such a big loss. But Congress is a big ocean. We have a lot of hardworking people, disciplined people, hardworking people who are willing to do anything for the party, because they take a lot of pride in their identity.
Yeah.
So in my 32 years of my existence, I am very happy and I'm proud that I'm a part of the Indian National Congress, and the Indian National Congress gave me an identity.
Yeah.
So, at whatever small level I'm working, it's the party that has given me, and I would work for the party till the very end, just like my father.
And that's wonderful to know, that there are still people, barring any kind of political discussion here, that once they've committed to a certain cause or a certain organization, they remain committed no matter what comes their way or what tries to rattle them from that commitment. And that is how I believe politics or political organizations should function, in order to not be swayed by such internal rifts and swayed away from what their objective is as political representatives or potential political representatives, if I might say. But before we can end today's episode, there's one very important question that remains still unanswered, is about the upcoming Assam elections and the chances, or the how you would see yourself and also the entire Home Protect Congress faring in the upcoming elections, given the current pandemic, given the restrictions that are put in place, which, of course, in such situation, campaigning or rallying or trying to do anything of that sort won't be safe for the workers, won't be safe for the candidates, or won't be safe for anyone per se. So, do you feel that somehow that gives the edge to the current ruling government? Consider that what happened today, the historic Ram Temple resurrection today, it also gives a political mileage to the ruling party? Or do you feel that the tremors of the CAA will still, influence the votes in the state? So, what's your take on this current situation of your party right now in Assam, and how do you see it faring in the upcoming elections?
First of all, I'm glad that the Ram Mandir issue is kind of sorted, and today they have done the Bhumi Pujan.
Yeah.
So on my part, we chose today to serve the people of the flood affected area. So I got a little late for the interview because I was in a place called Rupohi Mukh, which is a part of my assembly, Amguri.
Okay.
It has been totally destroyed by the floods this year. I mean, they have one road to communicate, and that entire road has been, it has been washed away because of the floods. And so I chose to serve those people today, be with them, hug them, smile with them, and understand their pain they've been through in the past few months. So if they are making Ram Mandir, we are also doing puja of our people. And in the current political scenario, what I will just talk about what I felt today,
Yeah.
So today I could see these people are in so much difficulty because they are out of work, and there was lockdown, and because of the whole coronavirus thing, they were going through a very difficult time.
Yeah.
And then the floods came and their homes were washed away. Assamese, usually in rural India, Assamese people do their paddy cultivation.
Yeah.
It is how they survive a year. So the entire crops has been destroyed. And today this lady was telling me, Angkita, I don't know, maybe before 20 years my land won't be fertile again, because it has been washed away because of the Brahmaputra, and sand has accumulated in the fields. So what is the government doing about it? And the funny part, the sitting MLA, he went to make a road before the bard came, before the floods came. He went to make a road. He just did it in one day, and he did not come back to complete it. And with the day he came with the media and the social media and everything. He did great publicity that during lockdown he's making that road, but he did not complete the road. And today the road is not there anymore. It has been completely washed away, and the people were furious.
Yeah.
They were furious because had they completed the work, they wouldn't suffer to the extent they did right now. And everything was destroyed. And what is the government actually doing to provide them relief? What are they doing? And I have seen young children, all these young mothers who come and tell me, Ankita, we have lived a very tough life. We grew up here, and it was very difficult for us and everything. But they were like, what about our children? What are you going to do for our children? Because they are very frustrated. So I don't feel that the BJP government has any upper hand in this election. The car issue is still very in the minds of people. And if you talk about development, there's no development in my constituency. There's no development in many constituencies that I go for my work, for my youth Congress programs. So people are very frustrated. There are no jobs. There's so many young people who are educated, who have done their MA, PhD, and they don't have a job. And this pandemic has not been, the lockdown and everything was not planned. They didn't do it in a planned way. They might claim it, but the figures are telling us something else. What are the figures of coronavirus patients today in India? So the figures are very much clear that how it is and what is going to be, what is the current situation in the country. And if we had our priorities right, then India wouldn't be in such a bad place right now. So the government should have focused more on the health, more on these issues. And today I went to the place where I went, there was just one school. Okay. And that school has been completely washed away. The benches are like over the, mud.
Yep.
So they talk about digital classes, online classes, and on one hand, they can't even have a classroom. So everybody knows, usually all the people who are on the ground, who are doing all this work and traveling in the villages, they know what is the condition. So I don't think that BJP has the upper hand. I wish they had, fulfilled the promises they had made and come with, like Bangladeshi, Tali Tukula Bani, Zabo. Then they talked about 24 hours electricity. While we were having this conversation, they're like, twice my electricity has also gone. So because I have a, inverter, then that is why we're able to communicate. Otherwise, so we would be in darkness. So there's no 24 hours electricity. There's no 24 hours water supply. The Bangladeshis are still not packed their bags and gone away. So, and prices of things, inflation is at an all-time high. They're increasing the price of fuel, diesel, petrol. Like even during the lockdown and when in the international market the price of crude oil is going down, we are paying a higher price. So we are not in a good shape. The businessman, and especially the small industries, the medium industries, they are suffering a lot. A lot of businesses are shut. A lot of daily wages are going home, out of jobs. So we are not in a good place, and I really wish the government handled it better. And had they handled it better, then maybe I would equally say ki haan theek kara, but on the ground it's really bad. So I don't see them coming back to power. There are one or two people in the government who are really working hard, but they're not working as a team, and all of them are not performers. Yeah. So it is not such a cakewalk for them. And I believe that people are not going to forget what they have gone through in these past 5 years. The expectations they had and what they actually did.
And, before I conclude any of that, it is actually sad and actually eye-opening about how the infrastructural development in our state is and has been, if I may say, low or in not at a stage where it should be, to prevent such calamities from destroying lives every year. Because somehow people of Assam have in the rural areas, we are still in a place like Guwahati where we don't have to face the wrath of flood every day, or our lives are not affected by it. But there are people in these places, in these regions, who know that they will be affected by flood every year, and that's the sad reality. They know it, but they can't do anything. And as you said, that's a reality that the government has not been able to change, unlike any of the promises they made. But again, thank you for giving us this insight and giving us the actual ground sentiment and reality, if I may say, about how the people feel, and about how the people in Assam, especially, who have not been only struck by COVID but also the floods, uh, like every year and year again. Thank you so much for giving us that insight, and we hope that many of the organizations, and not only Urban Youth, who have undertaken the donation drives and campaigns to raise awareness for floods and raise donations for the same, be successful, and we are able to help them, and that we don't remain dependent on any kind of governmental support, but rather we as a public and in a democracy lend a helping hand. And it's wonderful to know that you and your entire team is doing same for the people who have been affected, not only in your constituency, I believe in other places everywhere as possible.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today for this episode, and it has been a wonderful conversation. And I hope that you giving us your time paid off well for you as well. And please stay safe and stay healthy, and please keep working for the greater cause that you have been working. And thank you so much.
Thank you. It was an excellent conversation that we had, and I'm glad you all are doing an amazing job. I wish you all the luck, and I love seeing. I mean, it's so clean. The creators that you put on your Instagram are so clean and to the point, and I like things like that. I don't have so much time to read, but everything that you post, you all post on Instagram is so precise and to the point, and it is making my life easier. And then I'm not missing on important news. So you guys are doing a great job, and please keep doing it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much from
Thank
Team
you.
Urban Youth and People Assam.
Thank you.